I am, in fact, not a lobster. I think. Correct. Hi, I don't remember how to stream, is the thing. It's only been a week, but it had been much longer than that prior to that, and I don't know how to be a person. I'm not a lobster. Listen. Not a lobster. Lobster free. None lobster. Hello. Listen. You can't prove that I'm actually 20 lobsters in a human suit. There's no proof. You can't. So here's the thing. I've been being an absolute little freak recently. Over nothing in particular. Well, that's not quite true either. There's just been a lot going on in my life recently. And I can't say it's fine. But I'm handling it really well, actually. And I realize that might sound sarcastic. But I have been. I've been in a really great mood. And I've been, like, really excited to stream today. I kind of felt a little not good this morning, and that's because I made poor breakfast choices. But I have since recovered. I am no longer on fire. Hi, Juniper. Father is my father. That's my father. So I was about to get in that. Oh, let me tell you. Fire breakfast came back to haunt me real fucking hard. Let's just say everything was burning. But boy was it delicious. But yeah, I mean, he can't tell me to get the fuck out. This is my house. I pay rent here. But more or less, yeah, no, it's, I was finally recovered from fire breakfast this morning. I had a lot of, like, really spicy food, and not just, like, white spicy, but, like, I had, like, some, curry bulldog ramen, and it was so good, but so spicy, and on its own, would have been fine, but then I topped it off with some cucumbers that I had put some red chili paste in with, like, you know, a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of sesame oil, and some rice wine vinegar, and it was delicious. And then I had some leftover chicken that we had made up last night that had, like, ginger and garlic. And of course I was like, I'm gonna smother this shit in some chili oil. And it was so good, but I shouldn't have eaten that first thing when I woke up. Anyway, I recovered from eating all of that and did not die. Yeah, do it. Share my stream with people. Do it. I appreciate you asking, but fucking do it. But anyway, I was talking to my dad earlier. And I was like, yo, like, I want to stream, but, like, the whole fire breakfast thing sort of fucked my brain really hard, and I don't know what I want to do anymore. Like, I don't know what I want to play. Like, what do I have these games, and I listed all my games, and I was like, what do I do? And he, like, after some deliberation, he was like, we like stopped talking about it. He came back, like, walked into the room and then looked at me, and all he said, without any letting me know what was going on, he just looked me dead in the eyes and was like, Neopets. Oh no, that didn't work. Fuck. Yeah, my camera broke. Hold on. My camera keeps doing this, and I don't know how to fix it. I mean, like, I know how to fix it, but I don't know how to keep it from doing the thing that it's doing. There we go. No. Tell me when the camera breaks so I can reset it. Honestly, I think, like, the wire is hanging low again. And I keep kicking it, and so the camera trips out. Oh, okay, no, that's fair. Here, I can do it again. He came into the room and without saying anything else, just looked me dead in the eyes and said, Neopets. And so that's how I decided what game I was gonna play today. So we're gonna play Neopets the Darkest Faerie. We will get back to the Callisto Protocol at some point, because I am loving just ragging on it, because it's very bad, and I hate it. But, like, I hate it in a fun way. I don't hate it in the hate kind of way, in the kind of way where you're sitting there being like, God, I never want to do this ever again. Why am I torturing myself this way? It's just very, very fun to be like, wow, this game is trash. The Darkest Faerie, on the other hand, is very much a comfort video game of mine. I used to play this shit all the time as a baby. And I revisit it every few years, and it's great, and yeah. My dad, look, you can love my dad. My dad's great. My dad's awesome. Yeah, see, Fruity even says so. My dad's great. We love my dad here. He's not here right now, so he can't hear all of us singing his praises, but, you know, it's true. We love our dad. But yeah, so we're gonna play, Neopets, the Darkest Faerie. She's dark and scary, and she's gonna fuck your day up. That's my song for this silly little video game. Yeah, look, we're gonna wander around. We're gonna fuck shit up. I thought the game was crashing. Let me get my face out of here. That's incorrect. Oh no. Okay, never mind. My face lives here now.
I'll tear your gizzard out like a croquembouche. Merido will be mine. No!
I mean, it's a real song now.
Kerrigan, you will fall to the might of the defenders of Meridel.
Yeah!
Yay! It's a real fake song. I'm great at those. Oh, you fucked that kid up. Beat the shit out of her. Get good, kid. Sorry.
Next time you get to play
Tor is an asshole, and I love him. He's not that much of a dick. He's just older brother.
Yeah, is it?
Also,
Are
that
you
fucking
gonna be
kid's
a
face.
knight?
Well, I don't want to brag, but
I'm sorry, there's no captions for video game. We just get to suffer.
My winnies! Tor! Mom is going to kill you!
Well, gotta go save the pets.
Uh-oh. Gotta go. Homework to do.
just great.
I played this like a couple years ago. Like, so I'm gonna say I played it vaguely recently. I didn't finish it though. Oh, does not look as good now. Got excited earlier because you thought you were gonna record some vocals and banjo for Elf Love Song. But then Whiskey informed me he needs to record a bunch of other stuff first still. Dumb. Tell Whiskey that that's dumb. And, he should help you record stuff for Elf Love instead. Because that's more important, actually. Also, our sister's yelling at us, and we gotta... he said to use R1. Run! Run! R1 is 1! R1 is run! Okay, get in there. Get in there, buddy. Get in there! I don't know if they told me literally anything else, but 1 equals 1. Recording other stuff for the same song and being like, okay, as long as Elf Love is still taking top priority. That's all that matters, really, I think. Like I said, I've been like in a really like silly, goofy, silly mood this week. And I think it is because like everything is just like a fucking disaster right now. Not everything. Work has been fine and stuff, but like, hey, I know we all know this. It bears repeating, right? Landlords are garbage is the long and short of it. Yeah, the world is a fuck. That is so true, bestie. Hold on, can I like... I'm gonna fuck with some stuff real fast. This isn't it, but I am gonna flash this on screen for a second. Ooh boy! No, I wanna put chat back on screen. Is that right? Not really. Not really. Oh, jeez. I need a background for that. You have dark dreams about being a benevolent landlord sometimes, where I own a split-level house and I'm the kindest, most gentlest landlord ever. Right? Okay, literally, that was me yesterday, just being like, fuck, if I was a landlord, I'd actually be one of the good ones. They don't exist, they're not real, all landlords are garbage. But definitely, I'd be like, I'd do everything and anything I could to make sure that, like, everyone gets everything that they need. Literally any and all funds that people would provide to me would just be, like, go directly back into the housing and make sure that everyone has everything that they need, and it'd be all top of the line, and I would only accept people that aren't, like, garbage human beings. And by garbage human beings, I mean rich fucks. So, like, let's go! It would be horrible to have to, like, vet that, and it wouldn't work out well. But that's the dream, right? No, like, I'm not gonna get into it on stream. But let's just say my neighbors and me are, less than pleased. Oh! That's way too big! Hold on. Sorry, I am doing silly, goofy nonsense right now. You're not seeing any of this. None of this is real. Ooh, boy. Okay. Does that look good? Does that look okay? It's not I mean, it's not covering up much of the game at all, but does that, like, can y'all read that on stream? Charge rent based on what someone making minimum wage can actually afford. I'm like the cool old hippie lady smoking weed and cigarettes in the garden. Yeah, exactly. I mean, no more cigarettes. I quit years ago. I need more random pictures covering up the game. How's that? Does that work? Alright, let's play! Let's go! I mean, I don't want to rip off on Fruity's thing, but if Fruity demands random pictures... Hold on. Oh god, where did he go? Waluigi is too big! Help! Look. We can put our boy here. Also, I don't necessarily want to, like, make the game fit the screens, so we're gonna have, like, this horrible black border all the time. Just because, like, the cutscenes play at a different, you know, resolution. But, does this... How's this? Dying. It is true. All of your yeses and nos are a little delayed, so I am getting mixed messages. Do you want the Waluigi? Do we want him gone? I could flip him around so he's, like, facing everything. Hold on. That... nope, that's incorrect. Not that one. There we go. There you go. How's that? Oh, you can see my cursor. No, those... I mean, kind of. I don't think they're clogs in the traditional sense. But they're definitely not clogs. Hey, we gotta go talk to Mum. Don't hiss at my boy. You know, wanna know what I found? Yeah, they're tennis clogs for performance. They're aerodynamic. You want to know what I found in my closet last night when I was trying to find, like, a wrist brace? I found my Waluigi hat and gloves, which, you know, reminded me that, Halloween is slowly approaching. Camera, please. Is Mom outside? Mom's outside, isn't she? And I have plans. There she is. I have plans for Halloween, for a Halloween costume, as I usually do. But I actually want to, like, go all out, kinda, this year. So that's all I'll say. I think Fruity kind of knows what the plan is, but keep it a secret, okay? It's a secret. Gotta get a pail. Yeah, I was Waluigi for Halloween once, and I had the horrible nose, and it was awful. And then the horrible nose lived on my desk for a little too long, and I kept telling myself it needed to get thrown away, and then I kept not throwing it away, and then I finally threw it away, because it was not good. Also, we got a bucket! You can't see it, because the porch support is in the way, but, you know, I don't need to see what I'm carrying. We're fine. It was bad? Was nose. Nose was horrible. But it was great. Mom did need bucket. Right? Mother! Mother! I need to get you water! Mother! Yeah, anyway, sorry, we've got, like, some big manic energy going on, and that actually explains a lot of things for me right now that I've only just put together. It's fine. It's right along the barn. Thanks, Dad. Oh, God. I like it when the camera gets stuck on stuff, and it's just horrible. I think today is mostly just me, like, screaming about things, and then us occasionally acknowledging that video game is happening. Oh! Whoops! I was also thinking, so, like, I'm thinking along the lines of comfort games. Because, like, I still wanna do all of the awful, horrible horror games that I have on my list of things, because, you know, those are the things that I like. And I like playing them, and I assume y'all like watching that. But I've also been thinking about, like, other things to play, too, just to kind of keep things a little mixed up. Not necessarily leaning into, like, the variety thing. I need to, like, keep opening up her dialogue so I know what the fuck is happening. But because, like, I don't know, right now, like, I'm still in, like, a weird space post-surgery and all that shit, and so I'm like, I don't know, what if I play, like, all these other games and stuff? And I was thinking about Dark Cloud. It would take us a million years to get through it, but I fucking love that game. And that could be fun to do at some point, if people were interested in that. So, you know. You need the pliers. Why are the pliers on the roof, Father? Why did you put them there? But yeah, I like I said, like, it's not necessarily, we're not changing the kind of, oh, okay. Hey, sometimes you gotta pee and poop a little. Same. I love the soundtrack in this silly little game. It's just very pleasant. Or let go. There we go. We jump. Never mind. Can't jump up that high. Also, he has little toe beams. Our boy has little toe beams. Yeah, so it's not necessarily, like, I'm not necessarily diversifying everything. But I do just want to, like, I know it told me how to do it, and I just didn't pay attention. Please. But, like, especially, like, while I'm still in, like, this weird transitional period, for lack of a better... Do I just jump? Hold on, camera. I just jump. I just needed the camera to function for a second there. But yeah. Silly little video games for a while we get back on top of shit. Do plan on finishing Sly Cooper at some point, so that will probably be added to our list of silly little video games that we will play. Whee! Glad we don't take fall damage. Plan on finishing Sly. Plan on finishing Callisto Protocol, since we did actually start that. And now this as well. Always have to have multiple games on rotation at any given time, because, you know, wiggly brain. Also, why is Dad so buff? The fuck, Dad? Anyway, how's everyone else doing? How's it going? How are y'all? Momento. I mean, it's true. Dad is a wolf. Glad you're doing good. Here for it. Everything's just wild and weird.
Tor,
hello, Father.
I've got something for you to do. Something important. I want you to deliver a package.
We like it when our brains are cooperative.
Addison's again?
No, this one goes to Meridel.
To Meridel? To the castle?
I know you're excited, but there's a few things you need to know about before you go. The road
Yeah,
to
voice
Meridel
good.
is a long one, son, and it's not safe. You'll need something to guard that package with. This is the key to the
Oh,
chest
jeez.
upstairs. In it is the sword
I was
I
streaming
had
Sylvie
when
and
I was
Ogen
young.
earlier. Ogen was angry
Listen,
at video
Tor,
game, but I
it
was
is
chilling.
not a toy. It carries with
Is
it
it
great
more
responsibility.
Fire Emblem?
Do you understand what that means?
Yeah.
It's like being a knight. You have to fight for the good
I
and
was-
against injustice and evil.
Napping most of
That's
this
part of
morning,
it, for sure.
recovering from
But
fire
knights
breakfast.
Follow a code. A code
Oh.
of chivalry. They defend the weak. They don't lie. And always keep their word.
You're
They
a
fight
Fire Emblem
only
gang
for the
now.
right causes.
My
Do you
god.
understand?
Yes, sir.
Then go, boy. This package won't deliver itself.
Oh boy. Let's go. Time to go to Meridel. Whee! Camera, I need you to turn around so I can see the door. Why? Well, we just talked to Dad. Why do I need to talk to Dad again? Also, a moat. Give me that. Gotta put that on my weapon sometimes. Don't worry about it. I have gone upstairs. No, I will not read any of the books. I got a sword. I remember the combat in this being wiggly at best. Are these bouncy? No. Tragic. Oops. Okay, can I leave now, Father? I mean, it is a toy, though. Here's the thing. Banjo up! Why are my parents tripping out about a wooden sword? It is wood. Okay. Just give the bandits what they want. Alright. Good advice, Mother. Thank you. Let's go. Banjo time. I love banjos here. I like banjos at least. Hi, Britt. Listen, it is darkest fairy time, and we are here playing the good old comfort game. I'm having it's been an eventful week, is what we'll say. But we did it. We got through it, and we did not explode. So we'll call that a win. I hope it's been good for you. How are you doing? Yeah, I definitely, like I said, I kind of plan on just, like, fucking around a whole bunch in this silly little video game. So, progress, potentially minimal. I hope you're ready! It's true! I didn't explode even after the fire breakfast. Listen, it was really good. It was worth everything. And I would have been fine normally, I just, you know, made the mistake of eating it first thing in the morning, as the first bit of food that I had eaten today. And that probably wasn't, like, the wisest choice. We have learned now. Also, probably don't triple up on, like, very spicy things, when you're already eating a spicy thing. This is just generally good advice to be following. I've been playing Once Human. I don't know that I know about this game. What it? But I'm happy to provide the good contrast. I'm always happy to see ya. Alright, we've got money. How much do I have now? An amount. Oops. Ooh. Came out this week, Mass Horror MMO. Free on Steam. I might need to check it out. My ability to, like, keep track of literally anything right now has been so not great. So I appreciate knowing about new things through my friends. It's an amazing game. You have 33 hours in 3 days. Holy shit. It's like Sims 4 Fallout Ark had a baby. Okay, hold on a second. I am writing this down so I can remember to check it out after stream. Or during a break. Whichever comes first. And it's our favorite amount of money. $3. Let's go ahead and save. Do I not have any save data here? Oh. Oh no! I used up some of my mode. Tragic. Horrible. Hate that for us. Look at this old man! We gotta save the guy. With his one wiggly leg. This game is so silly. Don't give him anything. Not Kel the beggar. It's true. This is like... This is what, I think they, like, released this just before they added all the... Oh god, it's been, like, a million years since I've been on Neopets. But this is, like, what they, like, came out with this just before the, like, Dark Faerie statue, underwater, like, broke. And the, what is that place called? You would think I would remember because I played this game all the time. Get out from under the desk. Not Arcadia. That's not right. I think it's like an AR name. Whatever. Before that, all like launched on the site, which was cool and neat. I played this a lot. I also had, listen, I was kind of a Neopets baby growing up. I also had like the Neopets board game. And only like within the last couple of years lost access to that. That man stole my money and I'm really mad about it. But Neopets board game. I don't remember, like, anything about it, but it did have, like, little bits and bobs you could play with, and that was pretty cool. I liked that. And I made my dad play it with me a lot. What is this gecko
I
do?
really mean it, thank you. It's about time someone showed those bandits a thing or two.
Is this the voice you expected from this
You
gecko?
deserve a little something for your effort.
That's not necessary. A true
Or are you
knight
expecting
Knows
him to
when
make
accept an
bad,
honest gift for your trouble.
horrible sex jokes?
It may not look
Or
like
is it
much,
his
but
underwear?
There's more to it than meets the eye.
Do you think he's
Remember
related to
never take it
Gex?
off. It's a very special piece.
How do you rate Dad's Neopets board game skills? From what I remember, it's pretty alright. Probably like a solid 7 out of 10. There's a new MMO mode of Neopets coming out! Listen, Juniper has already been, like, trying to convince me to, like, get back on the Neopets website, and it's very nearly worked. I think that's one reason why I'm, like, playing this again. So that I don't make an account again. But, you know. Who knows, it might still happen. Yeah, well, move over. One is about to step in. Okay, I already know about moats. Listen, I've already got one on my grub. We gotta beat grub. Gonna go on for 1 minute every day just to get your omelet. Sometimes you gotta. Can this man die? There we go. Yeah, like I said, I do remember the combat just being, like, a lot. And it always surprises me every time I, like, replay this, where I'm just like, wow, like, half of my moves don't hit the man. That's cool. But, you know, it's fine. We'll go ahead and save again. No, for reals, if I made a Neopets account again and, like, started playing regularly, it would literally just be on the RP forums. And see if anybody wanted to write silly little stories with me. And that'd be it. That'd be it. That'd be the extent of my Neopets experience, because that was more or less all I did when I first played originally. I played some of the games, but then I would get bored with them, and I was like, fuck it. I'm just going. Sure. Checking my shop till now. Yeah, I would, I don't know. I'd just be on the forums, like I said. Little dragon man, I can't jump over the fence! Where is this girl? That's a pet. I don't want it. Not now, at least. I think they give you, like, bonuses or something. I don't... Listen. It has been a couple of years, like I said, since I played last. But it's fine. Who? It's fine. We just gotta find this kid. Where the fuck is she hiding? This place is deceptively large. But where did she go? Like, she has to exist here, right? You would think? It's fine. You used to bring your wife coffee at work. She's a librarian. You would log into the public computer and play Neopets so we can hang out. Okay, but that's adorable. I love that. Y'all? Stinking cute. Listen. Precious. Not over there. Yeah, no, we are 100% here for this queer romance. Let's go. This is how we flirt. this is how we as a queer community tend to let each other know that we love each other. Bring each other coffee at work, and this is the courting. Sorry, my brain is like, where is this fucking kid? Can I carry that heavy bag for you as not a friend? Okay, I understand. I've gone too far. Right? Love it. How much of that is just like, you know, queer folks just having a different approach to romance and courting and flirting and all that stuff, and how much of it is just that most of us are socially awkward and or neurodivergent? Asking as an aromantic person. Where is she? She can't be hiding in the plants, right? Like, because if I chop them down, she's fucking dead. Oh, we got another thing. Why did it get flat? Please, door. I think this child has died, actually. Wait, no. Wait, no, I see her! Wait, no, I see her! She's up there! This fucking kid. Can I get there in a minute and 20 seconds? Did I just, like, run past her originally? Also, I don't have to do this. I just want to suffer, I think, is the thing. Isn't this delightful? Don't we love this? I didn't run. Well, I did kind of run past her. I just didn't go around the corner. That has coins in it. Need. Great. Okay. Child. I did find you, Claire. You have been found. Ooh, money! Sure, I think I get better at things every single time. Whatever. Listen. You can't put money in a video game and not expect me to try and collect. I found her. I also didn't mean to eat that, but, you know, that's fine. Love to give you something, but I've given it all away. Okay, well, fuck this kid, I guess. Horrible child. Making me play with her without any sort of recompense. What do you need, Tessa? Oh, you want me to go kill the things. Okay, I can do that. Oh. I'm sorry, I kind of skipped through. She just wants me to come do murders. You know. Classic murder. Oh, and there goes my moat. Oh god. I'm gonna explode. Give me that though. But why did it come back up? It's fine. You know what? It's fine. I need Tor to, like, specifically target this guy. Please. Oh my god. Wonderful. We sure are doing it. I need to, like, remember to swing a little more slowly. Don't just spam the button, otherwise you're gonna do, like, none damage. There we go. Listen. game's yelling at me over something. I don't think it's making the noise anymore. Well, yes, I am cutting down every bit of corn that exists. Thank you for noticing. Also, y'all, should I make lasagna for dinner? It is distinctly not spicy, which I think might be the reason why it sounds good. Yes, okay, cool. Great. That's my dinner plan sorted then. I might need to heat up the oven in like an hour. Then I might need to pause stream so I can go heat that up. Always lasagna. Never not lasagna. Sometimes not lasagna though. I made some spaghetti sauce last week. And usually when I do, I make, like, a ton. Too much, some might argue. And I foolishly assumed that I would be able to consume all of it before it went off. And, like, by day 2 of eating nothing but spaghetti, I was like, I would rather die. And so I froze it. I froze all the extra sauce that I have, so I have a ton of sauce just in my freezer, and it's very good, and I'm very excited about it for when I am no longer sick of specifically spaghetti. But I did get a Costco lasagna, and they're, like, the best, so... Yeah. Oh, right. Okay, I was like, well, what is this clover do for me? And it's automatically equipped. It's fine. Thanks. Anybody else who wants to give me prizes for just being rad? I know I need to equip the proper moat, but I just wanted to see if it would give me information. I want to say that that's like an air one. Might be water though. So you can open chests by equipping the elemental nonsense onto your weapon. I can hear something just lightly like pulsing. And I don't know what it is. But it's like this, I don't know if y'all can hear it, but it is in the game and it's just going wee, 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 wee. It's like a light hum, throbbing hum, and it's weird. And I would like for it to stop doing that. And I would also like Tor to face the direction that I am trying to point in. But he says no. I think that might just be a noise that the game makes because I vaguely remember it the last time I played as well. But, you know, I'm sure it's fine. What do you want? Addison. Okay, I can't see us. Okay, there we go. Nope, camera says we're over here now. Can't seem to get to sleep with the shuffling noises coming from the cellar. Alright, let's go into the cellar. I'm sure it's fine. What's the worst that could happen? Did you hear it? Give fruit. I think there might be spiders down here. Yeah, there they are. Okay, buddy. Oh, they twitch after you kill them. It's a Bagus. It cures poison. We will need that at some point. There is a swamp level that I distinctly remember, as I could never forget how horrible it is. I don't have, like... Oh, God. Hello? How long am I poisoned for? Oh. Sometimes Tor gets a little confused when you're swinging your sword. I know I'm getting exhausted. No, game, I understand, but now is not the time. Listen. It's a wisp of fog. No, I know. If I equip it to my... I keep hitting... It's now the time. I keep hitting the wrong buttons. So I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring in my spare time, right? And even though this game is very much not, not that, I still keep trying to default to some of those buttons. And that's not particularly helpful, I don't think. But what do I know? Anyway, like I said before, like I played this game like a lot as a kid. Because that was my life, was just playing silly little video games instead of doing things with people. It was either playing silly little video games or going out to, like, whatever park was local, and just being a terror. As in, like, running around with big sticks and threatening to hit people if they looked at me wrong. I wasn't a feral child, but I think people thought I was at times. And just, you know, it's fine. Nope, press it, push it this way, buddy. Here we go. You ever just threaten people with sticks? Should give it a try. It's a lot of fun. Probably wouldn't go over as well now as an adult, although, you know, it didn't go over particularly well as a child either. I'm sure it's fine. Where am I? Okay, it is just time to leave. Great! We got everything that we needed here. Let's go! Game is very just pleasant. Even with all the jank that's in it, it's just, I don't know, it makes me happy. And I like that. We like things that make us happy. Yeah, scuttling sounds have stopped. They're giving me lots of money for this, which is like the main reason why I'm doing this. Spiders. They're gone. Bagus grows wild in swamps. Woo! There were the silly little crows over here, weren't there? Quick, what's everyone's favorite pet from Neopets? Because I definitely had a crow for my pets. Because of course I did. I've always just been a silly little spooky guy. I know Juniper was mentioning it earlier. Is Omelet a pet? No, Omelet is not a pet. It could be though. I'll allow it. Where is this man going? Where are you going? Is mayonnaise an instrument? First, these darned bandits stole my chicados. Then those darn Krokebecks came to take what's left. Sorry, I just needed to read that. Darned. Okay. I think that's, like, everything here. I think we can move on. I mean, I don't have to do everything here. It is literally optional. However, I wanted all the goodies. Sometimes you gotta get goodies. Sometimes you need a shit ton of money so you can buy a bunch of, like, really great equipment later on. At some point. It's gonna be interesting, because like I said, like, this is a game that I, like, revisit semi-regularly. I usually, like, play it every, like, few years or so, right? And so the fact that I'm playing this, like, as soon as I am after the last time that I attempted to play, which I didn't finish, and I think that was just because, like, I got distracted. It might have been that I, like, literally... I'm trying to think of, like, the timeline. It might have been that I, like, started this just before Elden Ring came out, and then, you know, Elden Ring took over my life, last year before, whatever. But usually it's, like, in every, like, 3, 4, maybe every 5 years or so that I just, like, revisit and stuff. And I, like, remember distinctly every single time that I loaded up, like, I remember when I was a baby and I got stuck and I couldn't figure out what to go. Sorry, why did that sound like somebody was running on my head? Is there someone here? No. Where, like, you're supposed to go to, like, Fiora's, forest, and, like, defeat the Werewolf King or whatever. And I couldn't figure out how to get to her forest, even though I have a goddamn map, and it was, like, marked on the map. And I was stuck for days trying to figure out how to get there. And I always worry that that's gonna happen to me again, and I don't think it has. But there is still this concern. Even now, there is this low-key anxiety that's just hanging out in the pit of my stomach, being like, everyone's gonna know I'm an idiot because I'm not gonna be able to find the fucking Werewolf King in the forest, and it's gonna be so embarrassing. And that's so goofy. Aww, where's your golden rose? Where? Recover the rose from the bandits. But where are the bandits? I remember never finishing that, like, as a kid either, because I was like, where the fuck are these bandits? I think they're, oops. I think they're down this way, but, you know, who knows? I should just take this dang baggage to Meridel and be on my way. Thank you very much. Dougal! I also had a Dougal because I was a basic bitch. Look at him! Ah! He's just a little guy. Anyway. He's so zippy. Look, he's zooming. He's too fast for me. My conscience says there's no way I'm going into Shadow Glen Woods. Okay, well. I was ready to go fight those bandits for that man. But, the game had other plans. I don't even think that they're in Shadow Glen, actually, as I think about it. So, where are you going, Tor? Camera stuck again? Heck. That was too zoomy. Broke camera. Hold on a second. You know what? Hold on. While we're in here, this might open up on the wrong window, so thank you for letting me know. Like, genuinely, I appreciate you letting me know when it gets stuck. I don't know what I have, like, I wonder if there's, like, an update for it. Oops, that's not where I wanted to look for. Camera hub, please. Not there. Can I please move this? Thank you. Hold on. I am going to deactivate my webcam for just a moment. I'm gonna see if there are any updates. Because that's what you gotta do sometimes. Oh, there are! Maybe that's the issue. Maybe I just, like, had... Oh, you can see that. Oh, 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 oh. Here, let's... Let's see if this fixes the issue. It might not. But it also might. You're gonna just keep seeing stuff popping up on the screen. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I used to be able to just capture the window for my very legitimate PS2. But the issue seems to be at the moment that it, like, doesn't want to. It just, like, doesn't want to capture properly. So we get the fun bonus of, like, me needing to... Okay, let's try that. I have to, like, capture the, like, my actual window as opposed to... Or not my window. I have to capture the whole dang monitor as opposed to just... Oopsies! The individual window. And it's a little annoying, but it is what it is. Hopefully that update, like, fixes the camera, but as per usual, if there are any issues, if it does freeze again, please let me know. I appreciate it. Alright, what are we doing? I know there's, like, a frog over here. I don't know. I think they think that they're allowed to get away with bad behaviors, but they're not. Fuck. Welcome back, Juniper. It's fine. Sometimes we just explode a little bit because the jumping is very wiggly. You banjo up? How'd banjo go? Also, it's, like, super cool that you can play banjo. Like, genuinely, I think that's awesome. There's the fucking floor-leaf clover. I don't remember what those do for you, actually, but, you know, it's fine. Alright, get us out of here. Wasn't that a fun detour? Didn't we have fun? It does make you lucky, it's true. I think it might, like, increase, like, the quality of things that you find, so you might get, like, either more or better coins, or something, but I literally don't know, but I want them, and so we will be collecting as many as possible. What's down there? Whoa, camera. So you'll have better draws when you get to the Mahjong mini. Not Mahjong. Please. Anything but that. There was... Nope, okay, that's not what I want. Is this what I want? That's what I want! That's what I want! That's what I want! I forgot to try and open that chest back at the farms. That's okay. We'll go back there eventually. There's a lot of revisiting locations. You can stop climbing now, Tor. Thanks, bud. Yeah. Yeah. I think the link you posted to my stream got deleted without anyone saying anything to you about it. They said, no. What if they showed up right when I said, like, fuck or something, and they were like, gasp! Can't have this, and then deleted the link because I'm an inappropriate degenerate. I'd believe it. Aridel, is that what that place is called? Sorry. I just got a little excited, that's all. That would be wild. Listen. They came in and they said, whoa, the vibes are off, and then got rid of the link. Wouldn't be the first time it's happened. Won't be the last. But, yeah. Is that what the kingdom that you uncover in this game is called? Aridel? Is that right? Jennifer, you still play Neopets stuff? Is that right? Your streams are usually pretty. No, not Meridel. The other one, the big one that's all castle-y and marbly and it's like yellow and gray themed. Bit of cussing, but you're not a nasty streamer. I don't know. Brightvale? Maybe. Yeah, probably. Listen. Again, it has been a very long time since I have played Neopets and or have remembered anything about it. But also, Senator Armstrong, welcome on in. Brightvale. That's probably it. Unless it's not. And then in that case, we'll find out. Are you sure that's not the place that's like green and yellow? That might be the place that's green and yellow, actually. Hold on. I gotta look this up. Where the fuck is my phone? Because I'm not gonna be good at explaining literally anything right now. Okay, so that's not the place that I'm thinking of, but thank you for the confirmation. Because I was gonna say, like, I'm pretty sure you you can just you can't just get there here, but give me a second. I'm gonna just look it up because it's gonna bother me if I don't. Altador. That's the place that I'm thinking of when I was trying to talk about it earlier. Thank you for the follow, Senator Armstrong. I appreciate it. Also, do you have a nickname or anything that you would prefer to be called? Otherwise, I can just keep calling you Senator Armstrong. But I figure I'll ask now if you have a preference. But it's Altador. That's the place that I'm thinking of. Specifically when I was talking to Britt about this game coming out. This is the game that came out just before they launched Altador on the website, I believe. Or they happened right around the same time. Altador is the Greek Roman inspired place. I guess it is, isn't it? Yeah. I just remember the color schemes and the big yellow loop guy, Knight Man. Also, thank you for the hydrate. Reminder that if I gotta do a hydrate, y'all should probably hydrate too, because it's important to dink your oiter. I actually need to get a little bit more water here soon. But thank you. Yeah, the king! Big old yellow loop man knight guy. That big old nerd. Again, I cannot stress enough that, this is a game that I played as a child and have revisited a handful of times. And, while Neopets used to be a special interest of mine, that information has since been replaced with memes and horror-related things, and also probably, a shit ton of information about deep-sea creatures. So, you've been making brain space for slightly more useful things. Only slightly, though. Literally, marginally slightly more useful. Still not really anything that I can apply to my daily life. Dying. Excuse me. Oh boy. I don't think he's that sorry, actually. Neopets place names out weird fish in. It's true. Let me tell you all about the goblin shark. Fun fact, chat, the world record this game is 38:17. Is that with or without glitches? Yeah, world record pace. Let's go. Kayshurr's very speedrun when? Fucking never. That is with glitches. Okay. I mean, I'm still here for it, but it does help. What? Oh, I remember what's going on. It does help. Just, you know, put it into your brain what you're expecting. That's still wild, though. Because isn't this, like... I don't remember this game being, like, super long. But I also don't remember it being particularly short. This is like an 8-hour game, isn't it? Typically, if you're not doing, like, a completionist run. Is that right? I'm just pulling this information out of literally nowhere. I'm just, again, going off vibes alone. Also, this surprise music every time we get close. Game takes 12 hours if you're playing casually. Okay, never mind. Forget everything that I literally just said. It is kind of a long game. Those faces,
Give me back
though.
the package.
I don't think so.
Again, I'm just literally running on vibes. Nothing makes sense. We're just here. It's all good. There's the fucking man. I see him.
Leave now.
I see him.
You're willing to take on
Also,
such
he's
odds. I'd
not
wager you'd
being
make a fine
particularly
knight
subtle,
someday.
is he?
Thank you, sir. I hope to.
I know you will.
I know you will. Me when they're straight men in a lesbian bar. That is the correct response. Hi, Faerie. How's it going? Welcome in. Oh, sorry. That's very good. That's just me when people, though. TBH. People show up and I'm like, ugh. It's in situations where I'm not anticipating there being people. Or, you know, even sometimes when I am anticipating people, just going out in public in general, it just ends up leading to that sort of vibe. It's fine. Listen, I just want to stay home all the time. Don't make me go outside and interact with people. Ma'am? Solda doesn't have anything to say to us other than beautiful day, or whatever it was that she just said that I've already forgotten. Are we heading home? No! We are going to the army recruitment place, which is here? This is either the weapon shop or this is a weapon shop. Nope. I found the place. Fucking did it. I've done it. We're here.
Huh?
I am not here to be a squire, but if you're offering...
Oh.
We don't have a shield. We gotta get a shield to be a squire. Can't be a squire without a shield. Come back when we have a shield. I wish the man would just tell me all the information that I need. Because I need a shield, and I need my parents' permission, because I'm a baby, and I think there's, like, one other thing that he wants you to do, if I remember properly, but, you know, I probably don't. Because as we have seen, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And it just is that way sometimes. That's not what I wanted. Map. I have gone the complete opposite direction that I needed to go. So we'll just run back over here, I guess. It's fine. Sometimes you just gotta take a little bit of a detour. Still on pace for world record. Listen, we lost a couple of frames here, but that's okay because that's gonna save us about 20 when we get to the man's castle. Again, I'm trying to like remember literally any names from this fucking video game, and I don't. I know what they look like. I don't remember what they sound like, but I know what they look like and I remember the areas. Inga, calm. No, I just want a shield. I want this. Bye. Hey, Fruity's here. They're setting up man's castle skip, exactly, and that's that is what they call it. That is the technical term for it. It is man's castle skip. Drakons? Drakon? Drake-on! Don't keep on keeping on, Drake. Get out of here, man. Sorry, I cannot stress enough how sorry I am with how just absolutely all over the place everything is right now. It's just how it be. Wait, I just ran past the place. It's fine. We gotta just go in here and we gotta do the thing. We talk to the guy. And I have a shield. Sword and shield, trying to be a squire. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
We need a sponsor. I need a knight to sponsor me. Torak. I think it's Torik, but Torak. Oh, didn't mean to talk to him again. Oh god, I'm doing it. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. It's fine. I said what I said. Gotta go talk to Master Torak. Do you think that's anything like Spanish Jackie's nose jar? Instead of a nose jar, he has a toe rack? Also, the tavern's behind me, isn't it? No. Never mind. I've been wanting to rewatch our Flag Means Death again. Because it's good. But I have been nuts deep in rewatching Iron Chef. So that's kind of been taking up all of my attention as of late. I've been making everyone who hangs out with me watch it. And it's been a delight. Oh look, it's Torak! But yeah, our Flag Means Death is so good. Stupidest thing I could have done, breaking my sword against that wall. Why would you do that? Also, I like that everyone's just kicking their feet, wiggling around. We love Iron Chef here. Can you talk to me? Whoa! Where are you going, Tor? Rognus. We must speak to Rognus for Torak. I want to be able to get better equipment, I think. I also like how I'm being accepted as a squire with a fucking wooden sword. They'll take anyone nowadays, huh? Rognus Torak. I was gonna say something and then it just immediately left my brain. Oh, that's so expensive. Okay, 500? Okay, I can do that probably. There's so much money. I am but a poor boy. I have to get all the pieces, and they are somewhere. I remember them being in like an alley or something. I remember one being up on like on a maybe on a like platform. Yeah, there, that, it's right there. Okay. Listen, it's all coming back to me. I hope that this is not miserable to watch and or listen to. Cause oh boy, I'm just here. I'm just here having a nice time. And assumably, if you're here, you're also here just having a nice time. So, what can we do? We get those sword pieces is what we do. Got a broken tip of a metal blade! I also like it when friends have nice time. It's true. We just like it when our friends have nice time. Can we... Again, there was a thought in there, and then it just immediately went away. We fucking got it! Ragnus! We have to take it back to Ragnus. Where is he? Behind me. No, don't attack the guards. I don't think it matters, but it just doesn't feel nice. Attacking guards and the like. Shield. Sword. Okay. Yeah, we're just here having a silly, goofy time. Right. Yeah, it's the Master at Arms sword. We got Torak's sword. If it's well, if it's so dang legendary, why'd it fucking break? That's what I want to know. What do you mean? Do I gotta talk to Torak? I gotta talk to Torak. Torak's probably got the hilt, huh? Torak. Sorry, he's got beans, and I like looking at the beans. Show me the beans, please. Little toe beans. Oh, I still hear that horrible thrumming noise. Common thief. In the knight's place, right? Because that's where the jail is. And there's probably a guy there that stole a thing. Because that's where thief go. Probably. I don't know. I don't respect the law. I would make a terrible knight. Or maybe the best knight. I ran past the place again, didn't I? No. Where? I hadn't quite gotten there. We've not wandered that far, and I'm already incredibly lost. So that's cool and fun. And I love that for us. Thief! Tark Gutter Runner! Sword shattered. Sir, that's so expensive. I'm gonna have to. You're so pleasantly yellow and wolf-like. You're a lone wolf. I was talking about me specifically, but also, maybe Tor. Maybe Tor won't actually make that good of a knight. I think we might need to discuss the fact that Tor is a baby and should not become a knight. I think he's too young. He is pleasantly yellow, though. It's very just nice, light yellow. And also, he's got those beams. Look at them beams. Kayshurrr was right once they lost their patching gun. It's fine. Mr. Everhart's helping me find my gun. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Please, please don't worry about it. Good as new. We got sword. Sword has been claimed. Look! I got sword. Don't worry. I didn't do anything. Except, I don't know. Whatever. I did whatever. It doesn't matter. We don't care. The details? Unimportant. What sword name? Sword. It's sword. Aw, man's gonna sponsor us. Thanks for the sponsorship papers. Gotta go back to the man now. But also, I need to refill my water. Neopets life sim win. Just sword, but you have to say it in bold red text. Sword. Hello, my name is Kayshurrr, and this is my sword. I need to get some water, but I'm gonna do it after I turn in this quest. I turn in this quest and then get some water as a treat. Wawa important. It is true. We got the signed sponsorship papers. I gotta get the letter of consent because consent is important. Get some before you get some. No excuses. Gotta get our parents to sign off on us being here. I'm gonna leave Tor here and I'm gonna go get some water. It's gonna take me all of like a minute. Oh, I did a little farley down there. Oh, I did a little fart. He's just sticking his feet like straight up, and it's very silly because he's very much too big for the little like cat bed that I have down there, but he loves it. And his feet are just hanging off the bed, and it's very precious. We love this little guy. Why is he so cute? Okay, water time. Guess what I have? It's water. I have water. It's got blue juice in it. I also got a soda. Hey y'all. Shh, easy. Grip it and rip it. Quest complete. Water got. Soda acquired. Excellent. Got that good psst. I assume it was good. I don't fucking know. I just know it happened. Alright. Gotta go get our parents to say yes to us becoming a knight. How much money do I have? $35. I have 35 Neo points to my name. I have a little bit more than that. I like nearly just doubled my amount of money. That's very exciting. I just want... Look, I could stand around. Wait, there's a place that I can gamble, isn't there? Or I can do fights. There are fights, aren't there? There's an arena, isn't there? Hold on! I was gonna say, like, I could, like, stand around and cut all the grass until I get 500 points, but I think I can gamble. Not Mahjong. No Zhong. No Ronning or East Winding. None of that here. I don't know what any of these mean. They are just words that I have heard specifically Fruity say when talking about the Mahjong. But I think yeah, there's this fucking thing, which I hate. I'm very bad at it. I don't know how much he said that was. 15! Let's go! What Preston do it? Preston? You like to talk Zhong here because you think it's a bad... It might be a bad word. Oh! That's where the arrow is. I'm an idiot? Yes. Does it stop, like... immediately? It does. Okay. I don't know that I have money anymore. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this, actually. Fuck. Okay. I don't have this, in fact. I think I get... Oh, I get a battle shield. But maybe... Listen. I just need a little bit, I just need a little more money, and then I can start gambling again, and then I'm gonna win big. Listen, we're gonna win big. Oh. It's a bandit. A fierce country boy. That's me. Stop knocking the money out of me. Wop, wop, wop. Okay, I almost died, but I did it. And I get a better shield? Right?
Uh-huh.
She gave me so much money. Wait, she gave me so much money. Wait. Why didn't I just do this? Okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. She basically gave me the money that I spent on the shield originally, I think. Probably. Hopefully. Oh, it's these guys! I'm gonna die. He was exiled from his people for being too nice. Hurrah! Oh, he's confused! Oh! Oh! Ow. Okay, well, if... Look! He has more legs than I do? And that doesn't seem quite fair. Actually, it's fine. He can have as many legs as he wants. Because he's fucking dead. I take it back. Have all the legs. 500! I can buy the thing now. Oh, I probably should have went and bought the new sword before doing this, but that's okay. I've got like 800 coins now. That's a muck. Or a Grimer? Which Pokemon is that? It's Wicked Sledge of the North. Why is he behind me? It's Sludgy. Listen. Ah! Oh, fuck. Am I? I am taking damage from that. No, you can tell me I'm a fake fan. That's acceptable. It's true. Oh, God. Okay, that's fine. Oh, no! We were still frozen. No round of applause for Sludgy. He's horrible.
Hey.
That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You know why it's fine? Because we gamble. Yes. Yes, I want to do it. Let me do it. I did it! I have 20! I've earned 5! Let's go. Oh, God. No! Okay, I've lost everything. Every time I've gambled, though, I've won over 400 doll hairs. Jesus. So what you're saying is, I need to go gambling with you, specifically. Understood. No, okay, I need to not spend all of the money that I have just earned, because I need to go spend all the money that I just earned. You know? You dig? Or it is 1% of gamblers. My God. What's your gamble of choice? Mom won 1,300 last time, but she spends $5 at a time. I'm a penny slots bitch. Fair. That's still, like, incredibly impressive. I mean, both sides of things. I understand the appeal of gambling, and I think that's why I just avoid it, and I don't particularly have fun with it, but pulling that lever's pretty cool. How do I get out of here? How do I leave? This way, right? Yeah, no, that's like 100%, which is why I know that I probably shouldn't be doing that. But that's okay. I do other things, probably. This is not the direction that I want to go. I don't want to be here. But I get it. There's all the sounds and lights and the potential for winning big. When it go ding ding ding, you won. Oh, that serotonin hit. Let go. But is me buying Pokemon cards in bulk trying to pull something valuable still gambling? Definitely. Yeah, but you still get stuff. Pulled a Holo Radiant Charizard last week and it was damaged? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, that's tragic. Oh, heck. Not it being worth a lot if it had been in good condition. I'm sorry, rip to you. How much money do I have again? 300. I went through every stage of grave in 20 seconds. Understandable. I feel like I should cry for you as well. Oh, it's this guy again. His voice. I don't understand. Because, like, in the cutscenes, right, he's got this, "Hi, I'm a beautiful knight," sort of voice. And then here he's like, "Ha! Hee hee! Ho ho ho!" And it's like, what?
Huh?
Huh? Gotta get my parents' permission. Me trying to use a mask voice on HRT. There was this TikTok going around a while back, where a trans man was like, "All right, like I need to like, you know, this is the only time I'm gonna ask the cis men for anything, and it's how do you woo?" Because he was like, you know, when I try to woo, it's like woo, woo, woo. I think it was a lady responded and was actually like, okay, so like actually you need to like woo from your chest, so it's woo. And I'm here for it. And I love that. And it just reaffirms, never ask the cis men for anything, ever, because somebody else can help you, actually. But also, this is my advice to you. If you ever want to do, like, a really good, like, woo! Do it from your chest, not from your nasal. A theater gate was made for that question. It's true. Also, Juniper, I don't give a shit if that's the king. Why he sound like that? I'm gonna give him shit. Why he sound like that? Hey, why he do? I'm so glad I have a better sword now. It's true. You never need to ask a cis man for anything. Good one will bring it to you without asking. I mean, probably also true. But look, we never have to ask the cis men for anything, because there is a queer person out there, probably a gender fuckery queer person out there who can answer the question for you, and give you a safe space to do that in as well. This brought to you by me. A genderqueer human being. Hello. This is a PS. That man just popped into existence and scared me. Yeah, you don't need to do that either. Yeah, you don't need to ask them for information either. It's okay. Again, you can find Google exists. But also, there's probably someone, some neurodivergent person out there who's got the information that you need. Specifically, probably an autistic person who has a special interest with that. Again, me. Ask me, an autistic person. These are jokes. Kind of. They're kind of jokes. Anyway, hi, welcome. What am I doing? It's kinda true. Between Fruity and me, we have all the information in the world that you could possibly need. So ask one of us, and if I don't have the information, Fruity will have it. And if Fruity doesn't have the information, I'll have it.
We were so worried.
Ask
When
us.
you didn't come back, we had Old Man Boggs watching the road.
And now your sister is missing too.
We sent her out to do your chores.
Bypass
She was
this man,
supposed to
ask
pick
an
some Juppies for
autism.
dinner, but she hasn't
What?
returned.
She was upset that
Huh?
you were allowed to go to Meridel. She said she wanted to go on an adventure too. You don't think she...
She
Have you
wouldn't
considered
go off
telling your
into
kid to
Shadowglen Woods, would she?
stop?
Son, you must look for her.
Please, Tor.
Also,
It's getting late, and if she's lost and out alone after dark, who knows what
question.
could happen to her?
I need to buy some nail polish sometime soon. And literally the only one that I have. I plan on getting black, because of course I do. The only color I have is this wild, like, fluorescent pink. It's the color's a little dulled down on the camera, and that's because the ring light is, like, directly behind it, but it's, like, wildly pink, and I love it, but No, yeah, no, it's dope as fuck. Listen, I love this. Sally's, the, like, beauty supply store where I buy, like, my hair dye and everything. The local one that I go to had this, like, fun little thing going on, excuse me, where they, like, made mystery packs of nail polish. So, like, they were, like, little brown bags that had, like, you know, like a theme or something written on the outside of it, and you couldn't see what nail polishes were in there, but it would tell you, like, how many different nail polishes were in there and, like, what kind of theme they were for. And I found one that was, like, that just said clown on it, and I was like, I need that. And this was in there, and then there was this also a, like, neon orange, and a fun little, like, cream color with, like, a bunch of, like, little, not quite, like, sparkles, and they weren't sequins, but it essentially had, like, confetti in it, and it was rad as fuck, and they've stopped doing that, and I'm, like, really sad, because, like, I loved that, and I want to do that again. I just want a mystery pack of nail polish, please. But, like, what color should I get? I need people's opinion on this, because I do want to just try and, like, get all sorts of, like, weird, fucked up colors. And I am taking suggestions. So if you have suggestions on colors I should get, hit me up. That's how I get out. Okay, no, I know what I'm doing. I know what's happening. I have to go to Shadow Glen Forest, right? Yeah, okay. Before we go to Shadow Glen, I have to piss. It's piss time, y'all. So we'll do a quick break. That goes for all y'all too. Go take a break if you need to. But we'll be right back while I go do that. And also, I'm probably gonna grab a snack. So, be back in like 5 minutes or so. Plans on liberating the default? We're just gonna wait and see if Fruity has followed through with what they've promised. Okay, was that man T-posing? That man was T-posing. 100% that man was T-posing.
Oh, dear Jesus. Hi, ma'am.
I love you, baby! I forgot I could put the cat on my head! I forgot I could put out the cat on my head! Like, we're only reading this for the first time. Am I a murderer?
You're a lot of nasty murders.
Don't you have refilling glasses? Whoa! Hey, bud? I can see your insides. I didn't like that. I'm in. Ah! Get it! Drop C! I can be a zombie. Listen, I can do the weird sounds. Want me to do the weird sounds? I'll do the weird sounds. Get him! Even unless you kill someone, I realize there's a part of me that really wants to get off this island. And at that moment, I let out a scream. Ah! Scream erupted from my mouth. Ah! It rushed from my mouth like water from a collapsed dam. Ah! Why me? Why do I have to go through this? Ah! How do I... See? I understand. I understand. Yeah, she's very pleased. Her little paws are going. Aren't they? Aren't they, BB? No. No, Emmy, no! You don't get to push me like this!
I didn't mean to. Whoa.
I need that space. Give it to me. Boop. The infirmary right now. Okay, let's not be here anymore. That is the question, isn't it? I mean, you're the one who would have to hear it again if you clipped it. So, unless somebody else wanted to do the deed. I am back. Cashews and cherries. The ultimate snack. And I did turn the oven on so I could start making some, lasagna. I'm gonna have to throw that in like, I don't know, 10 minutes once it's heated up. And then it'll cook for ages. It'll take forever to cook. Jesse, we have to cook. But, you know, that's exciting. I'm excited about lasagna. That's exciting. Lasagna? Exciting. I don't know if you can tell, but I am excited about lasagna. Okay, we are headed off to the forest, right? Shadow Glen. I will be chopping up some of this grass as we walk around, but I'm gonna try not to spend my entire time cutting all of the grass. We're just gonna get, you know, some coinage here and there. It adds up. It's nice. We need it. I can't spend all of my time in the look. I mean, if you want me to, I can spend the whole time just cutting all the grass. I can cut every little bit of grass. Because it would make me feel better if I cut every little bit of grass. But also, controlling everything, little wiggly, little difficult to do. But we can do it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for that to be as aggressive as it came out to be. Sorry, hold on. I got so excited about voice mod redemption. I joked. Hey. We haven't had one of those in a really long time. Usually, I would ask if I need to move voice mod off of this screen. Usually I would ask if there's a specific voice that you would like. Otherwise, I can always randomize it. Do you spooky please? Okay, alright. Let's go. I had a random button here. Spooky like a lobster man? Or a crazy clown? Spooky like a random. How about this? It did grab one of the, I think, spooky ones. Is it on? Can y'all hear it? Is this too scary? Is this not what you wanted? Cyborg. Borg. Alright, let me... The Darkest Fairy has joined chat. Hi, I'm here. I'll go ahead and set that 5-minute timer for you. And now you can enjoy? Jesus Christ, talking is hard. You can enjoy the wonderful noises of... I think this one was Demon. I think that's what this one was called. If the cough, hold on. I'm so sorry. I am recovering from that horrible gasp I made earlier. You know, the one that nearly killed me. Is this not what you wanted? You did ask for it. You asked for the random voice, so... What you gonna do? Good. That means I muted in time. Because I can only imagine how horrible that would sound with the voice mod on if it's a big voice. So, you know, let's not do that at all, actually. Preferably. Sounds like Galadriel TV. Instead of a Dark Lord, you would have a queen. Listen, we love seeing a woman go for some power. She fucking deserves it. Right? Yes, queen. Oh yeah, I was gonna do more of it, but I genuinely forgot. So if you keep feeding me lions, I'll keep saying it. All shall love me and despair. Love Kate Blanchett. Absolutely killed it in that role. Is she problematic? Because I don't want to say I love her and then find out that she's, you know, a problem. I think she's fine. There's just still the general assumption that everyone is not good. So, you know, don't put your idols on a pedestal. Don't idolize people. Consider. You try to love Sarah Paulson. Also, yeah, fair Juniper. About as problematic as any other rich person. Me trying to love Sarah Paulson, and Lady Gaga, and Alanis Morissette. The list goes on, and on, and like, listen, I feel you. Are they really? I mean, I can't say I'm shocked, but like, oofa. Goes without saying, obviously, Free Palestine. I wish that I could do more to assist, but I have been donating to various GoFundMes and charities that have all been vetted, as possible. Y'all should do the same. If you can't, do what you can to just spread the word so that the people who are able to can. You know. And also, call your legislatures. Tell them to fuck off and, continue to request a ceasefire. Or did that happen? that didn't happen. I feel like I would know that that would happen. That's just wishful thinking. Maybe that was just a dream that I had where I was being incredibly hopeful. Yeah. Yeah, donating is really all we can do. Fuck him. I'm sick and tired of old men just in office and making choices for us. And that is about all I'm gonna continue to say on it. Not because that is, you know, this is a politics-free zone. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. I am queer and trans and disabled. I don't get a choice in my life being political. My existence has been made that. Mostly just because. And it's not even like, oh, it's a bummer or anything like that, but it's just like, y'all know. Y'all know. We're all in agreement here. And if we're not, ooh, maybe you should find a different place to hang out. Just say it. Yeah. We unfortunately stayed known. Right, though? I love how Satan is calling for reasonable action. Dead. Woo! Oh god, that scared the shit out of me. That does mean that voice mod time is over. I forgot! Y'all, the way that I forgot, that that voice mod was on that entire time. Bye-bye, Satan. But also, consider, just food for thought, Satan's kind of a cool guy. Hey, Stan, pretty alright. Is there a way for me to, like, change the volume on that? Probably. I will look for it later. But that's voice mod. That was our 5 minutes. Yeah, friend of the show, Satan. Hey, Stan, how are you doing? We love you, bud. Cool, we got a starry neg, which I think increased our NP? Is that what that said? Can I draw Satan but ooh woo? Absolutely. Before I do that, hold on, let me see. I don't think I have the appropriate moat. That's okay. The, I know Britt can't hear at the moment, but it gives me a chance to, like, actually set everything up. So let me open up. Oh, I'm gonna have to, like, it's too big. Subway ad. Okay, but actually, Subway sound kind of good right now. Welcome back. I can do Satan but Uwu. We want an Uwu stand. No, I was like, damn, I want to see me. Right. I mean, I've got lasagna. I'm gonna have lasagna soon, but it's still like, I love Subway's garlic aioli. Like, that is the shit. I am here for it. Why is it so fucking good? Okay, we're doing an Uwu stand. What if he was like, you know, okay, no, I have an idea. We've got an idea. Let's get a stand head in here. This is too large. Okay. Also, oh god, all of this is too large. Hold on, let me reframe this so that it's like an okay size. I want it to be a square, or as close to a square as I can get. There we go. This is better. Kind of, to an extent. Yeah. Alright. I had this formatted properly previously, but I have to use MS Paint for work a lot, specifically just to, like, get rid of Identifying information when I have to share screenshots. Okay, what are we doing? We are doing a stan. This is gonna come out so bad, I'm preemptively apologizing. Our boy be caked up. How do arms work? Okay, I can erase stuff. I'm not limited to not being able to erase things. Okay, hold on. I promise this will come out. It'll come out. Oh boy, it sure will look like something. Look, here's the thing. We got caked up Stan on a phone is what this is supposed to be. Is that what it actually looks like? Probably not. Those are his feet, by the way. This is horrible. Why have I done it like this? Those are bad feet. I have to get rid of them. We have to do the feet again. Those don't exist. They're not real. Stan's feet aren't real. They cannot hurt you. Satan does love cake. It's true. It was such a cute game. Hey, if y'all haven't played Satan Loves Cakes, you should play Satan Loves Cakes. Put the sleigh feet back! You know not what you ask! You want the sleigh feet back? I can put them back. I need to reposition him, I think is the main thing. I put the butt too close to his head. Perspectives are weird. I'll put the sleigh feet back. I need to change this. Listen. Sometimes... No. Look, I'm gonna put it back. I just need to put it in a different place. I haven't done an MS Paint drawing in so long, okay? Be nice to me. No, you're all being nice. And if you weren't, honestly, the criticism would be valid at this point. Because what the fuck am I doing here? Okay, this is a little better. Again, I don't know what the fuck perspectives are. He's loafing. He's like a cat. Look, there's a butt. And there's a butt. Okay? They're also attached to different parts of the man. Please. As long as you all love him, that's all that matters to me. Look, okay, we've got the butt back. There's a butt again, and look, we'll even add a silly little... Oh, how do I want to do that? Yeah, no, this is how I want to do this. Okay, so we've got... Not that. He's got his little tail. But instead of having a usual, like, you know, the little, like, forked tail or anything, he's gonna have a little heart at the end. So it is still technically forked, but it's just this cute little heart, because he's an uwu. And then legs. And he's got his horrible little cursed sleigh feet. Is that sleigh enough for you? I don't know how legs work. that a leg? What the fuck is this? What is this? No matter what I do, it's just... Listen! You know, he could be an amputee. Let's get some disability rep in there, I guess. Look, man fell from heaven, right? I don't expect him to fall to earth, and make his way into hell fully scot-free. Okay? So... And then I can do... What the fuck do legs look like from behind? What? Yeah, no. What is leg? Actually. For real? What is a leg? And why do they exist? Has anyone actually seen one? Because I'm not convinced that they are real. No matter how I draw this, it's just gonna come out fucked up. So, you know. There we go. I'm so self-conscious about his legs now. What is this? What is this? What is that heel that I have created? Okay. Okay, hold on. Y'all, I gotta go throw this lasagna in the oven. Can you watch him for a minute? Don't be mean about his legs. Okay, I'm doing my best. Okay, we're gonna give him little booty shorts. Look. Oh my god, that is riding up too far, I think. It's true. It's true. It is MS Paint. It's not supposed to look good. I'm just like, I don't know why, but these like legs are really bothering me. We're good, but it's like, what the fuck have I done here? Let me get rid of this leg. I don't want to get rid of the leg crease entirely, but like, there we go. It's already exceeded expectations. Great. I'm very happy about that. Look, we'll do his horns. Oh, nope. I want them to be a little smaller. Nope, not that small. Or that chubby. Not that there's anything wrong with small and chubby. I said what I said. Okay, alright, alright, alright. How do you draw clothes? Stan doesn't need clothes. He needs his little booty shorts, but that's about it. God, what have I done? This is certainly something. He's got a chicken leg for an arm now? Cool, that's at least another part of his body I can be very self-conscious about. I'm sorry I've created you this way, my boy, but what can we say? You've made beautiful art for your friends. I suppose. I suppose that is what has happened here. I was gonna go with, like, little squinty eyes, because he's talking to, I don't know, probably talking to somebody cute on the phone. But I think... big old ooh eyes is the way to go. Oh, wow. Coloring that in is, very difficult, I think, is the thing. He's talking to Viewer? Friend of the show? Okay. I need to color the man bright red. Not bright red. We like this red better. And we'll, oh no! Where is that not? Oh, I see. Nope, I see. I see where it's not connected. Okay. This is fine. Not that. Purple horns? Purple horns. But I need to, like... There's too many, like, little white dots everywhere. Ugh. It's gonna be very annoying to, like, cover all of that up. I know it's because the fill tool is garbage. Right? Like... Why is it you think that that's not, like... Why do you think that that's blocked off? Why make all the little white dots when it's clearly not? Like, it is accessible. Apparently it's not, though. I'll try and, like, clean up the ones by his face, at least. Oh, God. Okay, you know what? Should have filled him in first, probably. But it is what it is. Oh, no. Oh, I should set a timer for my lasagna, huh? So it doesn't burn. No one likes burnt lasagna. Yeah, but it's still dumb. I don't like it. Well, fill tool is rude, I think. The long and short of it is, the fill tool, kind of a dick. Ooh. Oh god, I've, like, made this worse, haven't I? Maybe I'm just being a little too critical of myself. Okay, go ahead and re-outline that a little bit. What color should his shorts be? Kinda good when you get the crispy bits on it, though. Is it, though? Pink. Pink booty shorts. That's the answer. And a lavender phone. No, we'll make it gray. Satan's bold. Look, I could give him blue horns, and then we can say that, you know, Satan's a blue-horned communist with pronouns. Sorry, that may only be funny to me, but... I love that. Okay, and I do need to add, like, little pink blushies to his face, obviously. Otherwise, he's not ooh-woo enough. Typical blue-haired communist with the pronouns. I don't even remember why that comment was made. What video was it? Okay. Really? You know, I can't really say much of that, currently on the platform that we're on, but, I think y'all understand my, just given that I am on Twitch at the moment, can't do much of anything, but, yeah, y'all can fill in the blanks. Brit, please. Yeah, Juniper, you're right. A damn shame. Perfect. Let me... I don't want to, like, leave all of this space blank. Like, I need there to be some color under... Like... Right? Before we all get on a watch list. You're welcome. This was delightful. I'm not going to give him any hair. He doesn't have hair. But... Thank you. Thank you. You fill that line in because it does bother me that there's no outline there. Here is the boy. Let me fill that in. And then we can do... How do I usually, like, mark these? It's been so long since I've done a paint. Hold on. Scrolling. I think I just usually put the date on it. Okay. Nice. So what is today? 13th. 7, 13, 24. That's a horrible eye. Why have I done it that way? There we go! An uwu stand! Let me go ahead and remove that from that screen for a second so I can save this and y'all won't be able to see all the other garbage on my computer. It's all safe, I promise. But I want to save this as a JPEG. Oh wow! Oh wow! There's some art in here. And let me post that in. Let me post that in Lay Art. So if you would like the art that has been made for you, you can have it, and or everyone else can also access it because art. Where did Luciana go? Hold on, yo. When did I make the gummy hunter one? 6/4/2022. Apparently, but like, oh my god, getting this tattooed on your butt ASAP. Beautiful. If you do, send me pictures. Let me know. Love to see it. There we go. It is posted in a Lay Art. So if anybody wants to nab that at any point, they can. There's some good ones in here. Like, remember that time I played Pokemon? Not on stream, but like, I had Weevilbruv, and his best friends. Oh, Weevilbruv. Here's that time that I trapped Sam in a terrarium. And I mean, of course, you can never forget Lobster Man. Lobster Man is always there. Lobster Man is always watching. Yeah! It's that time that I made the little NB Goober with all the silly Pokemon. It was very good. Listen, we loved the gay Pokemon. I actually have Lobster Man on the board back here. Lobster Man's right here. I need to get a lot of these other ones printed out and posted up. I just haven't had access to a printer in like a million years. Specifically, I haven't had access to like a color printer in forever. And so like, you know, I haven't been able to get those printed out. I don't know which one pink is, but it's fine. So that was a fun little side thing. What am I trying to say? A fun little distraction. Loved that. Genuinely loved that. I know I like keep saying it. Let me get my cursor out of there. But I've genuinely like missed streaming, and I'm like super stoked that I am back at it. Back at it at the Krispy Kreme. Oh god. I keep knocking him back so far! Why is he like this? Wait! Do I use this one to get that box? Get that box. Because it was kind of pink looking. This might be too purple, actually. We're gonna find out. But no, I've been like super excited to be back streaming and stuff. And like obviously like we're still not back at like streaming as much as I would like to, but just the fact that, like, I'm here and doing any of this at all is just very exciting for me. And I appreciate having you all here for whatever this is. You know, sometimes it's fun to just be silly little guys. That did work. Also, look at all the money! You love to see it. Also, I got the snack and I need to eat the snack. Money! Which is gonna be great, because there's gonna be a lot of garbage that I want to buy later. And that's exciting to me, personally. I don't know. I just think it's neat. Give me these. Oh god. I can only ever hit that guy like once. Maybe twice. And I think that's rude of him. I think he should let me kill him a little faster, baby. Consider. My god. Wait, what are those? I forgot how to run for a second. Tor, please. We have to be better than this. I don't have to kill every guy I come across. Am I going to, though? Kinda. Probably. Yeah, I think I will. Slash... I don't know, like, how much I have to explore. But I kind of just want to wander around, and that's what y'all are gonna see now, is just me wandering around. Stabbing every guy I come across. Isn't that wonderful? I think you should play this game every day. Listen. I kind of would. Not every day. Most days, though. I mean, we're definitely gonna be on this for a while. What's happening? What is happening? Why do I feel like y'all are scheming? What's down here? Who's hiccuping? Sir! I don't like that it sounds... Don't appreciate that very much, but, you know, I guess you can scheme. Something dark rituals. Yeah, I guess. Also, a Nova. Rainbow. What is this? What this? What doing? I might, depending how much longer I do stream for today. Fair enough. All right then, you keep your secrets. No, that's valid. But after stream, and once I have eaten some Laza, I might hop into Discord while I play some Elden Ring. I might. There's no promises, because after this I might just be exhausted because I'm realizing that I've, like, I don't know, kind of been a little more into it than I have been recently. Just in that I've expended quite a bit of energy, a lot of energy during stream. Doesn't seem like a lot, but again, we have to remember that I've done jack shit for the last number of weeks because I've been healing. Yeah, it's been a high energy stream. Can't always do these very involved streams, but I like to when I can. And sometimes you just gotta sit back and just be a little scared about stuff because of playing games. Because you're playing scary games, is what I'm attempting to say. And doing a very bad job of. It was big fun time. It's apparent energy was spent, right? Like any of my streams, I'm obviously expending some energy, but this has been very like, let's go! And I do think that some of that is, as I have come to realize, that I may or may not be in a manic episode right now, but this is at least a healthy way to manage that. We're here for that. Not that the ways that I usually manage it aren't healthy, but, you know, we're putting that energy towards something fun and silly, and we like that, is what I'm trying to say, basically. Anywho, let me pick up these things. I do want to, like, I don't think it's gonna take us that long to get through this section, and we'll probably be able to do a little bit more, but I definitely want to get through Dark Glen, or Shadow Glen, excuse me. Oh god, the man lives in the wall now. Oh god, the man lives in the wall now. Before we call it, but obviously, like, I'll probably have to end stream once the lasagna's done cooking, or shortly thereafter. But we've got like 40 minutes. Money! You love to see it. No. No. I don't like that he keeps, like, I keep knocking him so far away from me that I can't hit him for a combo. That's a little annoying. So these guys keep spawning behind me? Can they not? I see you. I saw you. You were there, and then you tried to say you weren't there. But you were there. You can't trick me. Is there not? I'm sorry. Is there not a clover here? Please? That seems a little rude, if you ask me, but what do I know? Where? There. Also, the sounds keep coming from a direction that the enemies aren't in, and it keeps tripping me up. So I'm like, well, what's behind me? Nothing. It's just the guy that is directly in front of me. This is fine. Alright, let's do this boss fight. See if I remember how to do this boss fight. Right? Yeah, no, it's like, it's not great, because it keeps sounding like they're, like, in my right ear and, like, behind me. But they're just right there, in front of me. Let's help our silly little sister, I guess. Look at that fucking guy. Oh boy. I bet he'd be delicious. Tor, what are you doing? We have to pay attention to the big monster. Wah! Also, is it just me, or was the music a little off-key there for a second? Yeah, you're right. That'll show him. Surprise! Just like a Souls game. Y'all thought it wasn't, and that was your mistake. But, oh my god, there's so many noises happening. Okay. No, I know, ma'am. I understand. Make the funny face. Okay, listen. Put that on my shield, please. Well, I didn't mean to put it on my sword. Oh my god. Okay. Do it. Do the funny face. Kill him! That's not killing him! Oh god. Kinda killing me, though. There we go! Not even that hard. Oh boy, did we show him. Yeah, we were great. Let's get out of here! We did it! There are some plants in here that I would love. Hold on. Get rid of that. I would like to collect whatever these plants have to offer. Which is, it seems like nothing. They don't really have anything. Which is a little tragic if you ask me. Alright, never mind. Let's just get out of here. Let's go. We're done. No more of that place. Neg. Neg. More health. Also, money. I'm sorry, now that Britt has, like, mentioned that it's, like, very Mr. Krabs of me. I want all the money. It's just, that's just what it is now. Okay. I don't need all of the corn, I don't think. But also consider, what if I get all the corn? Consider. Corn-sider. Whew. I am running out of patience for this. Okay, you know what? That's enough money. We gotta go tell our parents that we saved our sister and that I should be a knight now. That is the stream now. It's just me chopping corn. Everyone's favorite. It's corn! It's got the juice! Corn! Where are our parents? I hate corn, but like seeing it injured. I mean, that tracks. Oh god, why does our sister look like this?
And he cut off a tentacle, and he let out a big roar and tried to wrap tentacles around him.
Also,
He
her
was
fucking
so
teeth.
brave.
They're just floating in there.
Proud of you, son. Wait until I tell everyone. Our own hero.
Why are her teeth so much smaller than the rest of her mouth?
Squire, I could become a knight of Meridel one day, and I need you to sign this paper.
Is this what you really want to do?
More than anything.
You've grown up faster than
Yeah,
I
yeah, no, like all the other
You'll
ones,
make
like
a
their
fine
teeth
squire.
and the palate and stuff like fit within the mouth. Why are hers just
Right
floating
choice.
in there?
Often, and be careful.
Why did they do that? Why did they choose to do that? I'm sorry that everyone else like has to see that now, but also like, what the fuck? It's true. Get your parents' permission before you go online. The shit that I saw online as a child, and that's with my parents like teaching me how to be safe online and stuff like that. Oh boy. The internet used to be a, I mean, I can't say it's better now, but like, the things we had access to back in the Wild West days of, the interwebs. They were rebellious, but I just, like, was far more curious than was safe. We all got that we got that internet trauma. Hey, you know the one. Yeah, I was, like I said, I was just too curious for my own good. I knew better than to, like, click on shit that was, like, gonna give us viruses and stuff. Managed to avoid doing that ever. But definitely visited sites that I should not have seen as an 8-year-old. Let alone as a now-year-old, really. But, you know, it is what it is. When you're broke, it's real quiet when you bring up Havo. Gotta speak up and say, hey man, I love you, bro. This is true. Wild. Wild days. Yeah. It's just like, I don't know, man. Shit's whack. What are we doing? We're heading back to Meridel so that we can become Esquire! Yeah! Does this man have more information about where to get his rose? No, literally nothing. You were a concubine in a Forbidden City RP cult! Nothing sissy happened. Okay, good. Yeah, that's quite a lot. See, I was mostly like, I didn't interact with a ton of people online. Like, I mean, like, I interacted with people online. Like I said, like, I was definitely, like, a frequenter of the RP boards on, like, Neopets and shit like that. And I had a Bebo account, and a MySpace, and things that I probably shouldn't have had, at a young age. But I mostly, like, all the, like, weird shit that I did online was mostly just, like, I'm gonna, like, out myself a bit here. Was visit, like, gore sites and things like that, and just research things. I, like, had found a way to, like, access not, like, official places, like, not official police reports, but, like, was checking that kind of shit out as a fairly young person, just because that was, again, a special interest of mine. Not for weird, scary murder reasons. I was just very curious in ways that made other people incredibly uncomfortable. Yeah, I was looking at the long leg site before the long leg site. You worked so hard for your role as concubine, you started at the bottom as a greeter. Hello, welcome to the Forbidden City, please read this pink sticky on it. Are we talking about Rotten.com? Yeah, Rotten was in there. There were a few others that shall remain nameless. Like a lot of stuff like that, and I ended up not liking a lot of those. Again, I have to be very careful about how I say this, because I don't want anyone to think that I'm, like, some kind of weirdo or anything. It was genuinely just a morbid curiosity, and I didn't like the shock value that a lot of those kinds of, like, sites had, which is why I just, like, ended up moving away from those at a point. That's fair. I mean, yeah, no, a lot of it was, but some of it was not, and this is why I can look at those things and tell you now if it's real or not. Anyway, as a general reminder, I went to school I did a bio major, so that I could potentially go to, med school to be a forensic pathologist, so I could do autopsies and shit like that. This was definitely not me planning anything. This was just me being a very strange child, who knew what they were interested in at a very young age, as far as, you know, research topics was concerned. Anyway, this has been Get to Know Kaysh with me, your host, Kaysh. Also, you like my duds? We got a new fit, y'all. Look at us. Just a handsome little lad. Yeah, trying to keep all of that discussion as vague as possible, but it's true. Fruity's got me. I am the long legs killer. I am Nicolas Cage. Call me Nick, all my friends do. I think we should normalize curiosity and that stuff, especially if, like, a kid wants to understand what death is and don't have, like, a theistic explanation for it. Like, show them mushrooms, at least. No! For sure! I had, like, I mean, we've vaguely talked on stream before about how weird my fucking upbringing was. But I, like, at least when it came to, like, stuff like that, my parents were very, like, open and honest, and obviously age-appropriate and stuff like that, which was great, and I think it's, like, definitely helped me be a mildly well-adjusted adult, slash made it a lot easier when I was growing up, and, like, those kinds of things happened around us. I happened to be, like, from a relatively small family, but the family that I had, tended to be, like, very old, so, you know, was introduced to, like, death and stuff like that at a very young age, just naturally. I think it's, like, I think it's good for children to learn, at, like, an age-appropriate level for things. Whee! Not? I'm gonna die. Anywho, I'm gonna die again. Okay. Okay. It's fine. Yeah. No, that makes sense and that is fair. But no, I definitely was very much like, no, I want to, like, look into, like, murders and stuff like that. And again, it was very much like, I just want to understand why these things have happened and why the people who have done these things have done these things. And it always made that very clear, so there was never any, like, because I think there may have been a short time where when it was found out that I was looking that shit up, where it was, you know, considered maybe like, oh, is this a thing we should be worried about? No. No, it's fine. Again, I'm just a weirdo. I don't want to make death, I just want to understand it, right? Exactly. Also, yeah, I'm also not a fan of Goo Man that turns me blue. Tormund Torak. But anyway, that's, like I said, weird knowledge that you have about me now. So is that what Pretty dislikes? Are you gonna make a song about Goo Man that turns us blue now? Because I'd be down for that. You can feel they dislike it with their whole being. Just every fiber of Fruity's radiating dislike. I love that. Gotta choose your battles. Valid. Alright. Oh! I'm attacking the Master at Arms. Please, camera. I have to go to sleep. That's fair. You should never like Goo Man who turns you blue. He is unlikable. Look at this low res picture of, oh my god, please, Tormund. What is that, bread and like a jug of milk? Why it look that way? I mean, I know why. I know why. You don't have to tell me. But don't interrupt the players. They're probably playing Mahjong. It's like Minecraft art. Immaculate even. My god. Hey, when are we all playing Minecraft together? Get in there and run some fantasy creatures. No! What if they absolutely destroy me? Why can't you leave this room, ma'am? There's no door! I do know you got that. I know you got it. Oh my god, everyone here is so pissy. No, but genuinely, like, I would love to just, like, wander around in Minecraft with folks at some point. That just sounds, like, very fun right now. I think I'm trying to, like, find things that are, like, the complete opposite of Elden Ring at the moment. Because I love Elden Ring. But I am playing so much of it in my spare time that, like, I should find not Elden Ring-like things to do with my friends. But also, I will Elden Ring with my friends sometimes. So you can see Gummy Hunter in action with her horrible, awful beast head and cool swords. I am just, like, wandering around. It's jammed. Oh. What DLC did you get? What kind of funny animals can you do? Look at this picture of this king! Why did they take a picture of him from underneath? It is true. Zoo Game is nothing like Elden Ring. I think I have Planet Zoo. I don't think I've played it much, though. Tycoon-type games, honestly, kind of stress me out. Chicken DLC, Beaver, Other American Animal Pack, and Wetland Pack, including Capybara! Capybaras. Fun fact! Facts about beavers. The reason they build dams is not simply because they want to, you know, make a home and nest and do all this kind of stuff. It's because the sound of water stresses those little fuckers out so much that they do try and bury the sound of water by building a dam. So, you know, funny little furry guys, absolute neurotic little bitches, and I love them. Because kind of same. It's one of those things where so like beavers and the dams that they build, wonderful for expanding the biodiversity of any given ecosystem that they are located in. It's delightful, you know. They make it so that there's lots of other places for other animals to live, provide a lot of water to different parts of, like, forests and fields and shit like that, and it's great, and it makes it so that you're less likely to have forest fires around and stuff because everything is well watered and maintained. Thank you, beavers, for doing a great job. However, I think it's just a situation where nature said, hey, we should probably make this space cooler and more livable for a bunch of animals. So, roulette wheel to figure out which animal we say fuck you to And unfortunately it landed on beavers. And so now they're just very stressed out about the sounds of water. So there's that fun little fact about beavers. Also, one time, I want to say in Idaho, but I don't remember if that's actually the case, but man, it was crawling out of the water like a silly little fish that learned how to walk. A fish that grew legs is what I was trying to say, not learned how to walk. But to make it so that they could, again, increase the biodiversity of this area, they parachuted beavers into the area, because bringing them in any other way was going to disrupt, disrupt the animals that were already there and make it less likely that the beavers would take to the area. So they parachuted the beavers in. And then the area became more biodiverse because of it, and it was great. Also, beavers like sharing their dam with other rodents, specifically during, like, you know, the winter and stuff like that. But only if the other rodents pick up some of the slack. If they aren't going to help clean up or bring some food in, they're gonna get kicked out. And I think that's really funny. Anywho, those are my facts about beavers. Okay, sorry. What are you saying? You had a beaver pond in woods behind your house growing up. Your favorite sitting spot? It sounds delightful. This will flood your parents' property every spring. Listen, they said, we have to get this water out of here, and unfortunately, that means that water's gonna be your parents' fault or problem now. Parents donated part of their property to Provincial Park and helped establish the park, so now it's all protected wetlands! That's awesome! They'll have culls out here, and then the ecosystem gets fucked up, and then they do different culls or reintroduce species previously culled. It's a big dump cycle. Not quite as cool, but at least they're trying. Question mark. Heck. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so things like that. That information about the beaver, that's what I've replaced information. That's what's replaced the information about Neopets in my brain. So now you know. Ain't that just a thing? He wants me to... Okay, I gotta go talk to a cleaning lady. Who and where? I love that the fight music is still playing for the attack dummy. Isn't there like a... This is where you grew up. You popped for Disp out east where you grew up, at least. Where the park are relatively stable, apart from a handful of invasive species. Always the invasive species, huh? Heck. I vaguely remember being able to climb this wall somewhere here. You see, there's always too many deer or too many wolves, so they keep killing the other one to get the pop. Okay, the population's level out. I get that. I understand what they're doing, but have they considered not doing it as dumb as they're doing it? I mean, like... Tartum! 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 Get up there! So that's a thing you can do. Ah, bouncy! I thought I could get up here. I thought I could get, like, further up on the wall, though, so I don't know why I'm here. I'm gonna burgle him. Watch out. That turret is getting burgled. Tartum. Turtle. Ooh. We got a supernova. Alright. I have to go do chores. I have to go clean. Mama toe rack? Was that his name? Toe Rack? Mama Toe Rack told me to go do some cleaning. Am I there? Oh, fuck, it's these things. Ah, jeez. I'm hoping for some help. You're the new squire. Yes, I have to catch the stupid me mice. Me mice.
Uh-huh.
Huh?
No, I know. I have to sneak up on them. Oh god, this is all we're gonna be doing now. It do be pets. But it's the Mimi mice. Horrible, awful creatures. Mia Mouse, excuse me. Yeah, that's my Gribbler walk. I hope you liked it. Doing it just for you. Want to make a bootleg version of this game now? Do it. Oh, don't run. I'm not part of the turbo team. I can't go fast. It's the Mia Mouse. Okay. Listen, if you made a bootleg version of this game, I would play the ever-living shit out of it. This is gonna be a problem. Ma'am, I need you to move out of the way. Okay, never mind. I'll just strangle this fucking thing. Why are we holding it like this? Norman really said I hate these little guys. My god. Just two more. Where are they? No, don't come this way. Go the other way. You little fool. My camera is doing a lot of things that I dislike at the moment. Long-term goals. Fair. But just know, I would play your game. Alright. Where's the last one? Yeah, there it is. It's on that side. Okay. Let's get it. We gribble. Fuck it, we gribble. Fuck! I hit the grab button. But it didn't work because I was not close enough. Can it come out now? Why is it coming over here? Okay, it's not. It just looked like it was. Where did it go? How did it get there? Oh my god. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. We're gonna get this stupid little mouse. And the lady's gonna be happy that we didn't kill any. Great. Okay, back out we go to tell our man, hey, I did the thing. Now what? Oh, goodness. Where do I go? What's happening? Is there nothing else that I can see on the map? Oh god. Okay, what does this man want from us? Why was that dummy moving? Why are they alive? Okay, spin around in a circle, initiate attack. I've done that a lot already. Not clog duty. Clog duty. Also, sorry, hold on. How long? Got about 5 minutes until my lasagna is ready. Oh god, we've been streaming for 3 hours already. That's pretty rad. I'm happy about that. I'm only now just starting to, like, get tired. I can feel that I'm starting to get a little sleepy. But I'm here for this. Go me. Me giving myself a high five. Do I want to start clog duty? We can start clog duty, because I need to pull the lasagna out, and then it does need to sit and cool for a bit, so I can probably finish up clog duty in that amount of time. I remember this one taking a long time, but I think that's just because I was an idiot as a child. Gotta go down to the prison, open the hatch, get rid of the clogs. Watch out for slorgs and tentacles. Understood. I think with this one I just, like, got lost a lot. You know? I know I need to go downstairs. How do I get there, though? It's not on my map. I know I went there once before. How did I get there? Does anyone remember? Is this the library? No, this is where I came from. That's not helpful. Oh, jeez. That's the library. So then, is it here? All the way at the end of this hall? No, that's fair. I always, like, so many of the maps, or, like, areas in the maps just looked really similar, and I think that's why I, like, got lost pretty regularly. I don't think this is correct. This is where the mice were. What the fuck? It's fine. We'll find it. Maybe. Maybe we'll find it in time. I say in time. As if we'll never finish. But we're gonna figure it out. And it's gonna be great. Is it here, or does this go outside? This goes outside. I need my map to tell me where to go. Oh. Okay. All right. Listen. This is a little rude. Or was it past the guy that we spoke to? No. Yes. Okay, I am a bit of an idiot, and I'm stuck. I am stuck. Oh god. Okay, it's fine. It's true. It's like... I hate that I'm gonna bring it up. It's like when you play Kingdom Hearts, prior to like all the weird 1.5, 2.8, 7-693 the remixes all came out, and you had to sit through all the cutscenes for the bosses anytime you died and had to restart, and they just say the same thing over, and it was horrible and awful. I mean, it was horrible and awful because, you know, you're playing Kingdom Hearts, and that's pretty bad on its own. Yeah, yes, yeah, no, that is correct. We did do a Kingdom Hearts trauma bonding ritual together. It was awful. I tried to warn everyone. I tried to tell them that, you know, like, hey, like, I know, look, we all have nostalgia for this game. I do too, or at least I did, and then I played it again as an adult and was like, yo, this game kinda ass, actually. Which is not to say that you don't have to like it. You can like it. You can like whatever you like. I get it, but also maybe we shouldn't say that a game is good if it's not good. I've been over all these hot takes during that series. Let me go get the lasagna out of the oven. Actually, as I went to go take it out of the oven, I remembered that I actually need to, like, just take the film off and let it broil a little bit. You know, you've only watched people play it as an adult, and after I had already melted your brain with drugs. Said it before, I'll say it again. Japan media is wild for a country where drugs are so super illegal. That's kind of why their media is as wild as it is. It has to do with a lot of generalized repression. No hate towards Japan, but, you know, yeah. But also, it's funny that you say that, you've only experienced Kingdom Hearts while, under some sort of influence. That's how a dear friend of mine, who shall remain unnamed, because while they've shared this story before, it is not my story, and I don't know if they would appreciate me naming them. Yeah, Fruity knows the story, but, we, convinced friend to play Kingdom Hearts one time when we all got stoned, and it got to the point, and I think we were playing two, because Mickey was involved, but there was a point where, like, you know, he played as Mickey or whatever, and we just sat there on the couch, both stoned out of our minds, and this was their first time getting stoned as well as playing Kingdom Hearts for the first time. We just sat there on the couch, just making Mickey Mouse noises at each other, the entire time, and that was pretty cool. So we'd just be sitting there going, huh, yo, ho ho, ho ho, ho ho, ho ho, yo ho. So yeah. And that's it. That's all we did. We do like Lucifer here. Lucy, kinda cool. But yeah, that's that story. Jumping between Mickey and Mario noises and whiskey. Why would you do this? Why? Why would you do this? What happened? Exactly. Nah, it was a good time. I think that's like one of the few enjoyable experiences that I've had with Kingdom Hearts as an adult. I liked hanging out with my friends while we streamed Kingdom Hearts, but it was not enjoyable going through Kingdom Hearts. No, listen. I ask why, but I understand. What do you mean? What does this one do? Are you gonna eat it, Tormund? Get them in your head and you gotta get them out. I understand. Sometimes you gotta just vocal stim. Listen. This from the person who's still walking around the house going, "Lola?" every so often. And I've also, I think I like mentioned this one before, but it's still like a relatively new one where I just like go around and I go, "Quack!" So, you know, I get it. You get noise and brain and then you have to make noise. I understand. Map? Where are clogs? I get most of my vocal sims nowadays from TikTok, which is a dangerous thing. I do keep seeing Dirt Man, which I know has been around for a minute now. And it blew up after I had found it, which was very exciting for me because I was like, oh, I know this one! But sometimes you do just gotta keep a little dirt under your pillow for the Dirt Man. You know, in case he comes to town. Anyway. Do I like Donkey? I am actually not familiar with this. Oh, like Donkey, right? Like, Snow. Right? Or is it something else? Hold on. Where the fuck am I? Like, oh, okay. Like, video game Donkey. I don't know that I've ever watched Donkey. TBH? Or if I have, it's been so long that I don't remember. I need to get there. How do I get there? I have to go all the way down? Hold on. Oh! I mean, listen. We appreciate somebody who make good noise. You know? Da donkey. Da donk. Sorry, I'm just imagining that noise is like the Law and Order noise. Da donk. Animal Well is his first game he published? Neat little platformer? I have not played it. I have not heard of it. I might have to check it out. I like platformers. I like video games. Okay, I remember why this section is as ridiculous and annoying as it is, and it's just because everything is fucking blocked. I go up. I thought I pulled the lever to, like, unlock the thing, but apparently I didn't. Oh. Oh, he was one of those. Hey, y'all? How do I go across? The amount of unknowing that I have about all of this is wild. If you would like to share any of that, though, post it in the Discord and I'll, like, look at it later. Because I'm, like, genuinely curious now. Can I go here? Where? Okay. But I can't go through because this is blocked off, right? Yeah. Is there a lever here that's hiding? No? How do I get anywhere? Sorry, I'm very confused. I think I'm starting to get a little hangry. Perfect. I will probably watch that while I'm eating my dinner. I know that there are levers around for me to switch. But where? That's one, but I can't get there. Oh my god. Is there a lever in here? Are there levels on the floor that I have just not seen? Oh! Listen. I love archive channels, for like live streams and shit like that. It makes it so easy to actually like access and watch those things. And that's missing a lot of times, I find. I know it's like super common to do now, which is great. I say that, I do that. But I do that. But it's very nice because it's just there. It's all just there. Is there? Look, I am displeased. How do? Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. And I've already flipped the switch that's up there. So, the fuck? Please, please. Tor. Okay. Please go up. Oh my god. The way that this little dog is broken. We opened that. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's a fucking switch right there. Ah! Hi, Gooey. Thank you for the bubble. I hope you're doing well. I must retrieve the lasagna out of the oven. The lasagna is resting. But yeah, welcome in. I'm gonna be here until my lasagna has rested, and then I can eat it. But I hope that I can offer a good distraction for you. But yeah, welcome in. Nice to see ya. We have figured out how to get through here, which is great. Oh, hiccup. Although now I have to look at every single fucking wall to see if there's a lever around. And I hate that for me. If everything could also stop hitting me, that would be great. Ah. Only one clog. Clog. Ooh. I mean, you can ask these questions, but will you like the answers you get? It's just because we needed something extra on screen, and everybody loves a Waluigi. Sometimes you just gotta have a Waluigi on your screen. Why can't I get that? Why am I not allowed to have these nice things? Also, can I get that, please? It's true. I mean, listen. Purple is my favorite color. It's to build suspense. Is he or is he not going to lick that rose? Will we ever find out? Actually, truly. The world may never know. We love Ouija here. Yeah, exactly. Oh. He wishes. He fucking wishes. He'd be something stupid. Like, I don't know. I was gonna say Dry Bones, but Dry Bones isn't stupid. But I was like, old and decrepit, which is why Dry Bones came to mind. But like, he wishes. I don't know, he's probably like, no, I also like Dry Bones, which is why I took it back. But, which is why I was like, you know what, no, Dry Bones deserves better than this. But I think it's, I don't know, probably just be like a stupid Goomba or something. It's the most basic, boring ass, obnoxious little thing you could think of. It's not a Goomba, but probably a Goomba. He'd be Mario because he's a war criminal. And don't give me that, they don't have the Geneva Convention bullshit, Fruity. Probably the fire-breathing flowers. Yeah, but I still think that they're just too cool. I think they're too cool for him. Have we considered that he might just be the crisp rat version of Mario, actually, maybe? I mean, Mario is a more fitting comparison at this point, but like... I love Piranha Plant. No Piranha Plant slander here, please. No. Yeah, all the ones who were funny enemies are just too good. This isn't working. He'd be a tile. He'd be one of the world tiles that you jump on. Just some bit of dirt. There we go. Found it. Found the answer. He wishes he were as cool as Waluigi. Get out of here. I'd accept a fish enemy as an option. Oh, hold on. Give me that. Oh, that's what you wanted me to pick up anyway. Okay. I understand. I do an attack. Yeah, I understand. It drains over time. Oh, but I already did. Big move. It's just telling you about alignments, that's all. Alright. Should probably consider calling it there, because we have played for so much already. But also I want to keep playing. But also I need to eat food. And also I need to take a break and not have my ring light on anymore, because it is starting to give me a headache. But depending on how busy I am tomorrow, because I have like a ton of shit that I have to do, I plan on tentatively plan on streaming more of this tomorrow. But again, I will keep everyone posted. If I do, it'll probably be a little earlier in the day. I don't know. I can't make promises at the moment because, like I said, like, I don't know what's going on. I have to do, like... So, my laundry machine is broken here at my apartment, and, management won't do anything about it because it's turnover season. We're so busy, and so if it's not life or death, we're not gonna come fix it. And it's like, cool, well, we don't have any hot water, and also our washer and dryer doesn't work, and that all sucks. So I have to go to the laundromat to do stuff, and that shouldn't take me too long, but I have a bunch of other shit that I have to do before I can do any of that. So who knows what tomorrow looks like. Regardless, thank you everyone for being here. I'll keep y'all posted about what stream looks like for tomorrow, if there is a stream. Oh, no, I'm 100% doing that, because, like, I got... TLDR, property management, like, changed on us. Like, we're no longer under the same property management that we were before, and they didn't fucking tell us until day of. Like, they were like, oh yeah, as of, like, whatever it was, the 9th or whatever, new management is gonna be here, and they gave us these notices on the 9th, and it's like, huh? Yeah, no, I am absolutely 100% gonna be asking for prorated rent, because it's like, I don't have, I have a broken washer and dryer, and I haven't had hot water for the last 24 hours, and probably won't have hot water, you know, until they fix all of that. So probably not until the start of the week at the earliest. And that's one of those, like, you're gonna fix that, or give me, like, charge me less for my rent. So, it's been a whole dang thing. So yeah, I have to do a whole bunch of shit tomorrow, to make sure that I have clothes and stuff for the next week, which I had meant to do on, like, Friday, and couldn't do because none of it worked. So yeah, I'll keep y'all posted about what's going on for tomorrow. Thanks for being here, friends. This was really fun, and I enjoyed this a lot. I hope you did as well. Can we see who is online? Anyone? I don't have any friends online right now. Does anybody have anyone they would recommend for a raid? Because if not, we will just call it here and pass on the love another time. But yeah. Slash if I don't hear a response within 10 seconds, we are just gonna call it. But again, thank you everyone for being here. I'm gonna go eat some food. It's gonna be great. And I will see y'all later. I'll also let you know if we're gonna hang out in Discord in a bit. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today.